Thank you, Sheriff. Very kind of you. You know, when Sheriff Watt talked about us fighting our domestic enemy, our own federal government, and y'all cheered, I know what the cheer was. It was in recognition of the reality of that, but it saddens me. It saddens me deeply that that's where we are. My wife Nancy is here with me tonight. I hope she'll forgive me. She's heard this before, but I really appreciate her coming on these trips with me because she does most of the driving. All I have to do is operate the wheel and the pedals. All you guys are smiling, all you women are. She did a great job raising our boys. I was gone a lot in my young years as a young father and in the sheriff's office and all the things I was involved in. And she did that while she was teaching school. She's a master special education teacher and director of programs. Currently, she's retired, sort of. And a very hot commodity in the state of Arizona for counseling, training, and in special ed curriculum and field. And I love her. It's easier for me to stand up here and tell you I love her than it is to tell her. So I'll get that in now. I have a real short, actually it's a lengthy video. I'm going to show a piece of that, a brief piece of it. Thanks, Tim. It was a gal down in Cochise County that filmed this and put it together a few years ago. I think I show up in it somewhere, and you'll know. I wear my hat for a reason. I have hair, as opposed to Sheriff Paul. And I don't want to. Actually, we were in Pima County last Saturday at a Lincoln Day dinner. I was invited up there, and they all asked me if I could come up to Pima County and run against Sheriff Dutnick. And I will tell you that he's a friend of mine. He just went sideways. But then some of my kids did along the way too, and they needed to get spanked. But Tim, if you'd go ahead and play, and I'll tell you when to cut it off. So if you bear with us here. We have sound.
Not like the brazen giant of Greek fame, with conquering limbs astride from land to land, here at our sea-washed sunset gates shall stand a mighty woman with a torch, whose flame is the imprisoned lightning, and her name, Mother of Exiles. From her beacon hand glows worldwide welcome. Her mild eyes command the air-bridged harbor that twin cities frame. Keep, ancient lands, your storied pomp, cries she with silent lips. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed, to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
See, agent over there on Border Road. You started walking north on Border Road again. The group should be off to your left. I can't be. 321, I'll be 181 just north of Turkey Creek. 215 with 2. Apparently they dumped the group out somewhere, but try to find them. Agent on Border Road, you're coming in 10-1. The agent that is stopped on Border Road, you need to walk away from the San Jose camera pole. Brig, I've got a group over here north of the Rose Plant camera pole heading up toward the PD warehouse. The agent on foot on Border Road, you've passed up the area where this group I had last visual of.
southern or southeastern corner of Arizona has been the illegal immigration crossing point into the United States of choice by illegal immigrants or anybody else wanting to enter the country for about the last 5 years. While the sheer volume has created just a tremendous amount of environmental, economic, and social upheaval, Border Patrol estimates that they detain about 1 in 3 crossers. So 600,000 were apprehended. The math says about 1.2 million actually made it across. And the concern isn't so much the sheer numbers and volume in terms of crossers today, it's who is crossing. And nobody, frankly, can tell you that they know. Could there be terrorists? Could there be Middle Easterners? Could there be people with evil designs? Absolutely. The answer to that is yes. Bottom line is that anybody who wants to cross can. No social program, no economic development process can or will work unless we can control our borders. And until that's done, all the talk and rhetoric about other changes is really going to be meaningless.
I think that's still available online. You can look it up. It gets a little tedious after a while, but it has personal testimony from a lot of people in the county who have had bad stuff happening to them. And as I speak of that, this is a very sad anniversary, frankly. March 1st, 1976, 35 years ago, I started my law enforcement career. March 27th of last year, my good friend Rob Krentz was murdered on his ranch east of Douglas, Arizona, by a smuggler. And I don't care, everybody's challenged me on that. How do you know? Because you don't have the person in custody. Trust me, it wasn't somebody walking to Walmart. This is very, very remote country, drug smuggling country, human smuggling country, and we know that the person that killed him was in fact a smuggler. Hopefully, one day, we'll bring that individual to justice. I wish there was more I could tell you about where we are in the progress of that case, but we've come a long, long, long way. But the difference between knowing who it was and convicting him of the crime is a whole different ballgame, and we can't afford to misstep or take a misstep in that process and lose him out. So, that said, some of the things I'm going to say tonight, Paul's sitting there saying, don't say that, I want to say that. He's not, you know, I love Paul. He accuses me of being long in the tooth. That's kind of a horseman's term. And I told him, well, I have a training bit hanging in my barn that I keep around just for him. So, but yeah, he accuses me of stealing his lines. Well, the truth of the matter is he stole my lines and started using them. When I steal them back, it's like when your kids borrow tools and then you go and retrieve them. They say, you know, what are you doing with my tools? But that said, you know, we've taken on recently, when the ACLU sued the state of Arizona over Senate Bill 1070, they also sued every sheriff, Sheriff Watts, Sheriff Badu, and the other 12 sheriffs in the state of Arizona, and every county attorney as well. And initially, we kind of said, gee, you know, what do we do with that? And frankly, that was right after Rob's murder, and I'd been fighting this immigration thing for a long time. I took on the National Sheriff's Association, frankly, about 6-7 years ago as a project to try to elevate the conversation and carry the conversation and the importance of the conversation of how the porous border is affecting our entire country and putting our entire nation at risk. And it took a long time to get that message across, but eventually it started coming around. When Rob was murdered, I'm telling you, after years and years and years of traveling the country and doing all that work, it really took the wind out of my sails. And I thought, you know, what good have I done? And then, Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, sued the state of Arizona. God bless Eric Holder, because he filled my tank back up. And in that one action, elevated the conversation to the level I've been trying to get it for 14 years. And the entire world is watching us now. Watching the state of Arizona, paying attention to what's going on the border. And if you are a decision maker, a policy maker, a politician, a senator, a congressman, attorney general, whatever you are, there's no place for you to run and hide. You're going to have to stand up and take a position and tell the world where you stand on this immigration and open border policy. So, what we're doing, and we will continue to do, and I promise you here, if nothing else tonight, I lose track of where I am. My commitment and promise to you is we won't quit. We're not going to let them get away with trying to deceive and trying to cajole the American public into a sense of, you know, the border. I have a whole list of quotes from our wonderful former governor and secretary of the border is as secure as it's ever been.
Yes, it is.
That's an indictment. That is not a claim of victory, to tell you the truth. It's an indictment of the status quo. You need not be concerned about that border. If somebody would tell me what it means to secure the border, that would be one thing. And just recently, 2 weeks ago, Mike Fitzgerald, chief of the Border Patrol, for whom I have a great deal of respect, he worked in Douglas for 7 years. He's now in Washington, D.C., drinking the... Dang it, I promised I wouldn't use inflammatory words like Kool-Aid. In this day of civility. Disingenuous, lies, I don't use that, and Kool-Aid, I don't use it. But anyway, he, in front of the camera, stood up in Phoenix at a conference where actually I received it was scary. I got a Lifetime Achievement Award for border security work. And you gave those to dead people. I plan on walking around for a while. But anyway, what was ironic about it, it was about 3 days after I threw my little fit with and called Janet basically being disingenuous and deceptive and hypocritical and an assistant secretary. Well, an assistant secretary from the Department of Homeland Security presented the award, which I thought was kind of funny. But I traveled to El Paso to listen to her presentation at UTEP University because I wanted to hear it. She'd been to George Washington University, gave her presentation on the state of the border, state of Homeland Security. I went to El Paso to do the same. I drove there and sat down and listened. I'm telling you, she did a great job. It was well presented, well prepared, and if you didn't know better, you'd be drinking the Kool-Aid too. But she knew I was in the audience because I had dinner with her PIO the night before, and I invited other sheriffs, and they knew that we were there listening and watching, and she took a couple of shots at me, which was fine. I was taken back. But I guess what I'm telling you is we're not going to let her or anybody else off the hook. The day that things are the way they should be, we'll be the first to stand up and applaud. Pat them on the back. But you know, it's just time after time after time they keep saying, you know, things are okay. And the purpose for that, the reason for that, frankly, is to try to convince the American public the border is secure, because what have the Republicans currently said and conservatives currently said? They said, we're not going to become involved in conversation about comprehensive immigration reform, which translates to, Sheriff, you spelt the word. Nobody's ever told you what that means to have the comprehensive immigration reform. They just use it as a nebulous kind of catch-all phrase, but that's what they mean, is amnesty. And but trying to deflect the conversation over to that discussion after they've convinced you with their lies that the border is safe and secure. I will tell you honestly, there are places on the border that are more safe and more secure more often than they used to be, but it's very, very fluid, very, very active, and it's a moving target all the time, and it is not a safe place to be. And anybody tries to convince you otherwise, it just isn't telling the truth. And we're not going to let them get away with lying to the American public. And fortunately, we have the ear, we have a voice, and we have a place to go with that. I could go on for days and days and days, and unfortunately, I'm afraid I've become one-dimensional. I'm not sure I could talk about methamphetamine. I'm not sure I could talk about much of anything else other than border stuff anymore. It's just consumed me. And but it has everything to do with time and place. And the Chinese have a blessing and a curse all wrapped in one statement. And it is, may you live during interesting times. And it is a curse and a blessing, and we need to continue to take advantage of that. I would be happy, I'm going to yield to Paul here, be happy afterwards to answer any questions and hang around. I just want to tell you, thanks for filling the tank again. These kinds of things just do wonders for us in our battle. It does drain you, and it does take a lot out. But we have in our mission statement in the Cochise County Sheriff's Office a quote by a strange English, little round fat Englishman, Sir Winston Churchill. And it basically says, it's not always enough that we do our best. Sometimes we must do what is required. And that's how we see this. Telling you that we're going to do our best isn't good enough in this situation. It's not good enough for anybody else. I sat in the White House in the Roosevelt room with Joe Biden and Eric Holder. Right across the table from both of them, with about a dozen other sheriffs from around the nation. And we had a 2.5-hour discussion about different things. I actually, Joe Biden, I got the sense that if you could get him out of politics and get him out of a deer camp, just sitting around the campfire, you know, drinking a beer or something, he'd be a great guy. He's a joke there, but the good part about that whole trip was that they had a great shower at the hotel, and so when I got there, Eric Holder makes me feel oily. Anyway, it's been a really interesting journey. I've met a bunch of great people along the way, and most of them have been just like you. They don't hold high offices. They don't have a lot of other things they're doing. They're just good, solid citizens who love their country and want to see the best thing happen for it. And the one thing that happened not too long ago that I still, and my wife forgives me for saying this, y'all, but Sheriff Babu and I were at the Joe Foss Institute gathering in Phoenix back in November, I think it was, and we were both presented a very special award there, and Sarah Palin presented the award. And, I got to put my arm around her, and I didn't go shower after that. 3 days. Anyway. Friends, patriots, citizens who love your country, keep loving it. It's the best place on earth.
Yes.
We need to keep it that way.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
if we don't keep up the fight, they'll steal it from us. Just sure as they will if you leave your keys in your car and leave it running. Keep up the fight, and we'll do our part on our end as best as we can. And when our best isn't good enough, we'll do what is required.
Yeah.